Good evening, you're watching the news. The headlines at this hour: protesting farmers break through police barricades. They storm into parts of Delhi. There are violent clashes. The police fire tear gas. Lathi charges take place. One protester dies. One policeman is critical, several injured. The situation remains tense. Protesters storm the Red Fort. They fly a religious flag. Many say this was entirely unacceptable on Republic Day. Our ground report on just what happened. Farm union leaders distance themselves from the violence. In the last little while, tractor protesters pull back to the border. That process is starting. But what happens next to the protests? Has the movement been weakened? Amit Shah meets the top leadership of the Delhi police. Haryana and Punjab now on alert. All political parties condemn the violence. Massive farmer protests also take place in Bengaluru and in Mumbai on Republic Day. The steepest petrol and diesel price hikes in 7 months. Petrol crosses 86 rupees a litre in Delhi. Diesel crosses 83 rupees a litre in Mumbai, its highest ever. But our top story: the police and farm law protesters have clashed in several parts of the national capital. Farmer protesters breached an agreement which they had signed with the police, their leaders did, and in the process went through police barricades entering Delhi. One farmer protester has died. One policeman is critical, several others injured. The police have blamed a tractor accident for that particular farmer casualty. We saw that image. But these are a few other images of the protests today. At this stage, some farmers have turned back for the border. As we mentioned, there was a tractor accident, is what the police say, as a result of which one farmer dies. The Home Minister Amit Shah has held meetings today. He's met the Delhi police at Red Fort, at ITO and the interstate bus terminal, as well as outer Delhi. There have been a lot of protests which have taken places. Clashes began after protesters pushed past barricades. Union leaders disassociated themselves from the violence. The BJP, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party criticized the violence at the farmer protests. The big question: has the farmers' fight against the farm laws been weakened?
We are currently standing at the Singhu border, and what you see right now are tractors that are returning back. There was a certain route that had been decided by the Delhi police, about a 60-kilometer stretch around the adjoining areas of the Singhu border. That had been decided by all of these farmers. They have completed it now and they are returning. Sir, आप लोग लौट रहे हैं, आप लोग क्या वो रूट कंप्लीट करके वापस आ रहे हो?
नहीं, अभी हम अपने संगी साथी को दोबारा और आदमी है हमारे, उनको पिक करने जा रहे हैं।
तो कितनी बार ऐसा दिन में आप लोग कई और चक्कर लगाएंगे क्या रूट के?
नहीं, ये तो पहला ही है।
अच्छा, पहला है। पर अभी और लोगों को लेकर फिर से?
जी, जो नहीं है, जो पीछे छूट गए ट्रॉली में, वो।
तो ये ऐसे चलता रहेगा आपके साथ, और भी ट्रैक्टर
कंटिन्यू,
वो भी यही करेंगे?
हाँ जी, सभी को दिखा के ले आएंगे दिल्ली।
सबको दिल्ली दिखा के लाएंगे। आप कहाँ से लौट रहे, कितनी दूर तक गए थे?
हम तो उधर आगे जो सर्कल ब्रिज जाता है उधर से आए।
वहाँ तक गए थे। अच्छा, कई आपके किसान साथी ऐसे भी है जो रेड फोर्ट वगैरह तक चले गए थे, तो आप वहाँ भी गए थे?
नहीं, हम नहीं गए।
अच्छा, पर ये आप अभी बोल रहे हैं आप लोग ऐसे ही कई बार चक्कर लगा के लौटोगे?
कई बार नहीं, जो हमारे साथी हैं उनको देखा के लाएंगे।
धन्यवाद सर। So that is what farmers here are saying, that they will keep encircling the entire designated route more than one time a day. He says many of his other fellows have not seen the part of Delhi that was supposed to be covered in this route, so he will be taking them along again, and then he will take them on that route once more.
Well, some breaking news now coming in. The police stating that 45 policemen have been injured. They've just been admitted into a hospital over the last few hours at the trauma center at the Civil Line Hospital. Over and above this, there are 18 policemen who've been injured and are at the LNJP hospital as well. Several protesters have been injured also in what has happened today. Earlier on, my colleague Srinivasan Jain was at Red Fort. There was a fair amount of violence over here. Very unfortunate scenes when some of the protesters stormed the Red Fort. They did put up some religious flags. Let's just take a look at what happened there.
We have now come to Red Fort, and the situation here is not good. We can see here protesters are storming the barricades that have been put up here. They are beating them, they try to bring them down, and the camera can pan around. You can see the protesters are milling around here. Many of them are carrying lathis and other forms of the police and the security forces are nowhere to be seen. My colleague Marima personally saw. Several security officers being roughed up and also being taken out by the protesters. So both things going on at the same time. The security forces being roughed up and also being taken out by some members of NDTV. And this is what you can see here at the Red Fort at the moment.
26th of January 2021, an iconic day here. Multiple tractors parked at the Red Fort, and there you see right at the peak, some protesters have reached at that point as well. A few hours back, at much lower place, there were a couple of protesters who managed to wave that saffron flag, and now right at the peak of the Red Fort, again there are a number of protesters which have managed to go right up to that point. Again, they're trying to fix one saffron flag here, and if you see the situation on ground here, then there are multiple tractors lined up. They are raising slogans, and many protesters are here on their horses as well. So a different kind of situation being witnessed here at the Red Fort on 26th of January, Republic Day. Now, Kisan Gantantra Parade was planned by farmers, by farm unions, but that didn't go as per the plan. Finally, protesters starting from different borders have finally come together here at the Red Fort, where now there are cars, trolleys, tractors, horses, and a huge number of protesters waving the national flag, but their own flag as well. So there you see another attempt to wave more flags right at the peak on 26th of January 2021. With camera person Manoj Thakur, Arun Singh for NDTV.
Delhi police personnel along with the CAPF is using the tear gas to disperse the crowd here. In fact, we could see, a camera person could show you, the tractors have been stranded here. Now the police personnel using tear gas and also lathi charge to disperse the crowd here. In fact, earlier we saw some of the farmers, they insisted that they wanted to march ahead, whereas the police did not allow them. Though some farmers tried to breach the barricade here and then marched ahead, they were pushed back by Delhi police personnel along with CAPF with tear gas shell and also lathi charge.
Well, we're joined now by NDTV's Mariam Alvi. She's been covering the protests all day and joins us now. Mariam, is there any sign that the protesters in many parts of Delhi who came in have now started returning? Have the protests ended, or are they going to stay on inside the national capital?
Yes, Vishnu. So we were at the Red Fort until about 5 p.m. today, and what we saw then was that there was no sign of the farmers leaving anytime soon. In fact, when we were leaving at the time, what we saw was while there were a group of farmers who were leaving from the Red Fort, there were others who were still coming in, continuing to come in. And earlier in the day, when we had spoken to the farmers who were actually taking out the rally, we had met them at the Mukarba Chowk, another one of the flashpoints where the protesters had clashed with the police. There as well, the farmers had told my colleague Srinivasan Jain that they were here to stay. They will not leave until the laws are repealed.
All right, thanks, Maria, very much for joining us with those details. So the big question, where was the leadership of the farmers who signed an agreement with the police and promised that there would be no violence? How did this happen in the first place?
Violence and chaos all over the capital. The agreement between farmer leaders and the police for a restricted route collapsed and farmers reached central Delhi. So what went wrong? The main reason appears to be a U-turn by farmer leaders who agreed with the police to restrict the tractor parade to the outskirts and not the outer ring road, well inside Delhi, as first demanded by protesters.
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲ ਜੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੁੱਟ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੂਜਾ ਵਾ ਤੀਜਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਡਿਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਆ ਸੰਯੁਕਤ ਮੋਰਚੇ ਦਾ ਆਪ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ
Members of the Kisan Mazdoor Sangharsh Committee, a key farmer union of Punjab, which has a presence in 8 districts of the state, were among the first ones to break away from the agreed route and head well into Delhi. Others followed.
जो हमारे आगू हैं, जो किसान नेता बने हुए हैं, उनमें से कुछ फ्रॉड भी हैं।
आपका हमेशा प्लान था कि दिल्ली एंटर करना था।
हाँ जी, हमारा इतना कुछ खोज लिया तो पुलिस के साथ तो थोड़ी बहुत तो होनी थी।
Once the violence escalated, the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha quickly disassociated themselves from the violence, blamed it on infiltrators and appealed to the protesters to pull back.
देखो मैडम जो रूट तय होया सारे किसान उसी रूट से जा रहे हैं तो सानू नहीं पता भी लाल किले पहुंच के नहीं पे क्योंकि असं अच्छे बैठे हैं
शांति टूटी हमारी ताकत टूटेगी आप सबसे अनुरोध है ये गणतंत्र दिवस है गणतंत्र दिवस पे ऐसा कुछ ना हो जो गलत हो
हमारा मैसेज है कि शांति बनाए रखें अगर शांति भंग हो गई तो सारा जो मोर्चा है जो आंदोलन है वो फेल हो जाएगा
Even Kisan Mazdoor Sangharsh Committee leader Swan Singh Pandher did a U-turn and appealed for calm.
ਲਾਲ ਕਿਲੇ ਜਾਣ ਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਜੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਾਈ ਝਗੜਾ ਨਾ ਕਰੀਏ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵਾਪਸ ਕੁੰਡਲੀ ਬਾਰਡਰ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ
I am appealing again and again it is the national festival of India please do not do things which are letting down the entire country.
The farmers' protest had been going on peacefully for the last 2 months, but the events of today will cast a different shadow upon them. Farmer union leaders also admitted today that the violence will put their cause on the back foot. With Mohammad Ghazali in Punjab and camera person Xavier Thomas in New Delhi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
And it's not just Delhi, there have been massive protests in other parts of India as well. This report is on the situation in Karnataka, also Mumbai.
In Bengaluru, thousands hit the streets to protest against the new farm laws and show support for protesting farmers in Delhi. From districts including Mysuru, Tumukuru, Haveri, Mandya, among others, they gathered at the city's main railway station to march to Freedom Park.
ಹಾವೇರಿ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಇಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಈಗ ಏನು ಸುಗ್ರೀವಾಜ್ಞೆ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ 3 ಕಾಯ್ದೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವನ್ನ ತಕ್ಷಣ ವಾಪಸ್ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು.
Members of the Bharat Kisan Ekta Morcha took out a bike rally. Some of the protesters cleaned up after themselves when the protest was over.
44 years of life में मैंने कभी ऐसी चीज देखी है ना मैं सोचता हूँ कि आगे कभी देखने को मिलेगी ये बहुत अफसोसजनक बात है कि सरकार हमारी बातें नहीं सुन रही.
In Uttar Pradesh, apart from political protests and solidarity with farmers, members of the Gulabi Gang, a women's empowerment organization, took out a march. There were celebrations at Mumbai's Azad Maidan, where farmers from around Maharashtra had gathered.
जो केंद्र ने कानून लाया है उसके जो किसान के हित में होगा वही कानून महाराष्ट्र सरकार लाएंगे.
From Uttar Pradesh to Maharashtra, Karnataka, across the entire country today, in solidarity, thousands of people, including farmers and farmer organizations and other support groups, came forward in solidarity with the protesting farmers in Delhi today on the 26th of January as India celebrates the 72nd Republic Day. What will this mean in the history for our country and what will this mean in the days to come when it comes to the demands of the farmers to repeal the law? With camera person Kumar in Bengaluru, Sonakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.
There's been a significant hike in petrol and diesel prices. Petrol touched a record high in Delhi and diesel hit a new high in Mumbai.
On Republic Day, petrol and diesel prices hiked by approximately 35 paise each. This is the steepest single-day hike since March as per the association. While petrol touched a record high of 86 rupees and 5 paise per litre in Delhi, diesel hit a record high of 83 rupees and 3 paise per litre in the financial capital. In Delhi, the cost of petrol is 86 rupees and 5 paise per litre, diesel at 76 rupees and 23 paise per litre. In Mumbai, petrol is at 92 rupees 62 paise per litre, diesel is at 83 rupees and 3 paise per litre. In Kolkata, petrol is at 87 rupees 45 paise per litre, diesel is at 79 rupees 83 paise per litre. In Chennai, petrol is at 88 rupees and 60 paise per litre, while diesel is at 81 rupees and 47 paise per litre. In the last 1 week, fuel prices have gone up by 1 rupee each. This comes in after a gap of 2 days, but it is impacting people's budgets. Mohammed says he rides his motorcycle at least 40 kilometers a day, and now with increased prices, his budget is gone for a toss.
असर तो बहुत पड़ रहा है क्योंकि एक तो बिजनेस लो है और पेट्रोल आसमान छू रहा है. मिडिल क्लास है तो बाइक विदाउट बाइक तो कोई बिजनेस होता नहीं है.
Yogesh says earlier he could fill 100 rupees petrol that lasted him a week. Now he has to shell out 150 rupees a week for fuel.
Trains बंद है, so obviously petrol hike और daily इस पे budget में difference हो.
This has impacted the transporters too, and they say they will take up the matter head on with the government shortly.
Small road transporters who are totally dependent on the livelihood of the truck will be perish from the industry, will create more unemployment. The situation is viewed very seriously by the road transport sector.
Since 6 January, oil marketing companies are doing daily revision in fuel prices as the global crude oil prices are rallying. And since then, the prices of petrol and diesel have gone up by 2 rupees. In Mumbai, this is Purva Chitnis for NDTV.